Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, Can Propane Autogas Revolutionize Your Business? Brought to you by LP Gas Magazine and our sponsor of the event, CHS. I'm Brian. I'm the Senior Marketing and Digital Manager here at LP Gas, and I will be your event producer today. At this time, I'd like to get you comfortable with our console and the ways you can participate during today's presentation. You'll notice the Q&A panel in your console. If you have a question, please type it in the panel's text box and click submit to place your question in the queue. We encourage you to ask questions during the presentation. We'll address them at the end during our Q&A portion. And if they are not answered, we'll definitely have our speakers follow up through email. If you experience any technical difficulties, please use that Q&A box to ask any kind of questions on technical. Our technical support specialist, Danielle, or I will personally assist you. Finally, if you'd like to learn more about today's speakers, you can click on their profile and connect with them via their social media handles or email and interact with them. So today, I'd like to introduce our speakers for our webinar today. Our first speaker up is Mark Porth. Mark is a Senior Account Manager at CHS. He's a 37-year veteran in the propane industry. He leads the efforts at CHS to grow propane autogas demand through business development and outreach. He is responsible for the territory of Missouri, Kansas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and a portion of New Mexico. Next, we have Stephen Southward. Stephen is the CEO of Cleveland Petroleum Products, a leading energy company with a strong customer base of 38,000 customers across Arkansas, Kansas, and Oklahoma. Stephen has successfully secured a contract with UPS to service 250 vehicles across the Oklahoma using propane as a major fuel. And finally, we have Luke Fitzpatrick. Luke is the president and CEO for the Missouri Propane Gas Association and Missouri Propane Education and Research Council. Luke is the primary contact for MOPERC's Autogas Advantage Vehicle Demonstration Program, and he also helps to advance innovation and market development efforts in the propane industry. So at this time, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Mark, who is going to be our moderator and our propane industry expert. Mark Porth, take it away.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning if you're still waking up on the West Coast. Glad everybody could join us today. I think we've got a very enlightening and fun conversation for the next few minutes here, just to talk about autogas, to reach out and we've brought a couple of the industry experts, a couple gentlemen who have a long legacy of success in growing their autogas business. And so with that, we'll start with a real quick forward looking statements. You know, this is a CHS requirement. Anything we say is to our best of our knowledge is a good representation, but that's basically where it stops. And so, again, as Brian said, if there's questions, happy to do those. Please put those into the chat, and we'd love to answer anything that we can. We've got a dispersity enough of conversation and people talking with you today that we surely could answer or maybe touch on it, or for sure be able to come back to it. Today's agenda, we're going to kind of run through this here real quick. Cleveland Petroleum, one of the premier marketers in the state of Oklahoma, has fully grasped propane autogas and are truly amazing in where they're going with that, and allow Steve to kind of chat through some of his stuff. MOPERC, again, one of the industry leaders in advancing autogas, and Luke is a great person to be able to speak about that. We'll also talk about, you know, the importance of leveraging your state and local funding in legislatures, get them involved, how to build autogas infrastructure, how to get your state involved in autogas with you if they're not yet, And of all, how do we lower our ratio of summer to winter gallons? To flatten that ratio is something that we all would love to do. And then hopefully we'll touch a little bit on some of the rebates and incentives that are available throughout the country. And so let's just dive on in if we're ready. We'll start off with Steve. Steve, thanks for joining us today. Excited that you're here. I mean, you bring a unique and interesting perspective to the word Autogas. A lot of us think that it's something that is out there in the future, and as other people are doing it. Your company has fully grasped it, and you are doing it. And would love to see how Cleveland Petroleum doubled its gallons in Autogas and has plans to do it again. And so I'll turn it over to you and let you kind of dive in here a little bit, Steve.
Well, Mark, not a place I would rather be, if you can believe that. This is exciting for us to be here and talking about these things. I think in an industry where it is good to have teams and to be able to come together, we're just excited to share what we have found and what we've observed even from other people as we've gone on this journey. I think any organization, as we found, needed a good vision. They needed goals and ambitions for the future. As we started thinking about where our company was, we realized that we were pretty focused on just a few things, primarily residential propane. We felt like we did it really well. It was during this time we were coming up with a vision. We were coming up with core values, also niches, that I saw this act in Branson, Missouri, and maybe you've seen it before. It's this acrobatic show where they actually spin plates. And it was incredible. I was amazed that a man would spin a plate on a stick. He would do it, spin it really fast, and then he would grab another plate and he'd keep on spinning. I just was amazed by this, but as I walked away from this, I got it for our organization. We were spinning one plate that was called residential propane, and we're doing it really well. We were doing it really fast. But if we wanted to be around, we needed to change. And so having a commercial division or a commercial plate seemed very logical. And so we started spinning that. But when we came across Autogas, it was something we had experimented with before, but we really came across something that as we watched it and implemented it, it was something that was year round, and it was steady, and it was another plate that we could spin, and it was amazing. Now, what we've learned in the process is there's a maximum amount of plates that you can spin at a given time. Too few plates, you probably won't be in business. Too many, you probably won't do it well. We do 8 plates, and Autogas is a huge portion of that continues on. Now, as we started this journey and we implemented Autogas, Explore Tulsa, it's a TV show. They wanted to do an hour-long special on what we were doing and what propane could help other people do in the Tulsa area. Here's just a clip.
So we're seeing a huge shift and interest in propane. We're seeing commercial mowing fleets. We're seeing vehicle fleets, all these things running on propane. The reason why we've seen so much interest in the industry right now, lower emissions, American jobs, an abundant supply, especially here in Oklahoma, and it's very affordable at this point in time.
Oh. Can you believe they put that on TV? And we were so excited by it. So if I were to tell you, I know where your next Autogas customer could come from, that you probably have their name, their number, and really even how to get to their house or their business, would you believe me on that? Well, we have found that cross-selling on our existing database of residential and commercial customers is a perfect place to start. These are people you already have communication with, a relationship of trust. And for example, 2 weeks ago, I had an oil company we've done business with really maybe since the 70s. And I called them up and I wanted 2 people to be in that meeting. One, the person that's in charge of the fleet, and the other person was their chief financial officer. As we met with them, we simply talked about what incentives were in place. I spoke directly to the chief financial officer. I laid it out. He said, "Can you say that one more time?" He said, "We could get this amount of rebate if we convert our fleet over, 1 truck, 2 trucks, 3. I said, "That's exactly right. And here's all the paperwork. It's in a packet." And then for the one that's really in charge of the fleet and tracks it every day, we went to this energy website. It's the U.S. Department of Energy website. You can get there by afdc.energy.gov. As you can see on the left-hand side, it says laws and incentives, and you simply click on that. You put their state in or wherever you are, and then it will pull all the incentives and laws concerning propane autogas. They can either take our word for it or go to an official site. We found that to be very effective. One of the other questions I ask usually is, okay, where will your fleet go? Because you're going to have to possibly refuel it sometime. And also on the same site under fuel and vehicles, it gives a nice list of propane fueling station locations. Now, someone today who's just an observer saying, yeah, I'm just here to just see what's going on. You can put your locations on this, and probably tomorrow someone will come and fill up. This is where a lot of people go to find out where they can go and stop and get auto gas. But for someone that really wants to have a good sales pitch, you can give them this just huge variety and this infrastructure of auto gas that's already in place. Now, when we were asked to do this with UPS, this is exactly the process we used. We showed them the footprint. And then once again, Explore Tulsa did a series on what happened. Let's watch that clip.
A year ago, we had 5 minutes to pitch to UPS of why we felt like we could handle the UPS account here in Oklahoma. They decided they wanted to convert part of their fleet in 15 locations of the state to propane. It's been an amazing experiment for them. I think we have to be on the cutting edge and being also diverse as we go forward in the future.
Well, so once again, it's not a fairy tale. It's happening in a lot of locations. Autogas is here to stay. If someone were to do this and they say, okay, we're really going to go all out, this slide shows a group meeting we had. You know, they say that motion creates emotion. So if you get a lot of people in this motion and someone really believes in the crowd, it can get a lot of other people to believe. We had a just recently converted F-250, and then my 1955 Chevy two-door hardtop that has a propane tank in the back. And we also showed them this is what you would be refilling from, this dispenser. Every single one of them got excited about that day. And then individually, we said, we can go through, if you have your mileage that you used this last year on your vehicle, let's say it's a Ford F-250. On this particular case study, it was 20,000 miles. We did a simple calculation of what was the average gasoline price in Oklahoma for the last year compared to what we could have sold them propane for. That calculation is very easy, and it comes up with a dollar amount. They're excited, and then when we tell them 37 cents per gallon will also come back for every gallon that you pump, they got really excited. And then the icing on the cake was, here's a state tax incentive for you to do your conversion that pays for it plus some. If we present it correctly, Mark, I think that Autogas truly sells itself.
That's, sitting and listening to you talk, Steve, is just, it's inspiring in itself. You guys come, but with a plan. You have a plan. You have a sales approach. You know where you're headed. And so that's fun. We're going to dive a little deep into that here a little bit later. But I'd love to bring in Luke Fitzpatrick now. Luke is an amazing individual who's been in the industry for a while, but brings a very unique perspective. Luke's a go-getter, and he's now in charge of the Missouri Propane Educational Research Council, MOPERC. And as a part of MOPERC, they've made some significant investments into the autogas market. I think we discovered, and maybe Luke will dive into that deeper, that this market is not just a phone and a fax machine or a business card and a brochure. It's you need to have hard assets for them to lead that. And so, Luke, if you could just go ahead and explain a little bit why MOPERC invested in paratransit demonstration vehicles and such.
Thanks, Mark. I'd love to talk about what we've done here at MOPERC. First, I want to just take a second and talk about what our current option is for our demo program. We do have a 12-passenger, 2-wheelchair capacity transit shuttle. As you can see on the screen, we do have a QR code. So if you'd want to take a moment just to scan that, then you would be able to get a little bit more information about propane autogas in general. So, but yeah, so what we've done, and kind of like you mentioned, Mark, our council didn't think that a pamphlet and a business card was going to be the approach that we needed to take with autogas. So we invested ultimately $100,000 into a shuttle and some mobile dispensing trailers to be able to take these and do a show and tell. So you get to drive it, you get to touch it, you get to feel it, you get to hear it, all those types of things at very low cost to whatever transit agency or airport or whomever we would be demoing it to could actually get that experience versus us just telling that the experience is awesome, because the experience really is awesome. So we dove into the pool, and as you can see on your screen here, we have a couple different trailers that we haul to the location if we're going to use it for a transit company. We set these up on site. They're all self-contained. You don't need any electric whatsoever. The propane tank runs the generator, which then creates the power to run the pump to fill the vehicle, so you can do it in the remotest areas or inside the city, and as you see in some of these in parking lots. So we wanted to make sure that really there was no hiccups or hurdles when using these. So on that note, we've had some great success with our demo shuttle program to the point that we will be looking at adding a couple of more vehicles for our Missouri marketers to use in the near future.
So the response back from the paratransit folks who have used it, being able to have the full package has been extremely beneficial, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we've had some great conversations here in Missouri. We've demoed our shuttle and one of our trailers to the number 1 and number 2 transit agencies size-wise in the state. Absolutely love it. And they are communicating that to the folks that they're buying shuttles from to be able to get propane as a fuel, as an option moving in the future.
Very good. Yeah, again, it's a business area that you have to have something for them to test drive, something for them to touch, something for them to experience. Simply the lack of emissions coming out the tailpipe, if nothing else. It's always, I've had the opportunity to be able to use the transit a couple times, and normally as we're walking around, the shuttle is running, and I always end up back towards the tailpipe, believe it or not. And we're having conversation around what's going on, and then we'll have been there for a little bit, and I'll mention, do you see where we're standing? We're standing literally by the tailpipe of this vehicle. Would you have stood this long at the tailpipe of a diesel or a gasoline powered vehicle? Probably not. But with a propane to clean emissions, those things, it's a selling point that how clean propane is, which is truly, truly amazing. So sorry to cut in.
Mark,
if you had.
Yeah, if I may, one more point I would like to mention here that I've extended this offer to numerous states that I've talked to over the years here at state associations, that if your individual state association doesn't have the opportunity to purchase one of these, and we can be of any help in the state of Missouri, meaning having your state association or your state PERC reach out to my office to either give them advice on how to acquire one, or even the opportunity to demo some of our assets in your state, then we would definitely be more than happy to be part of that as well.
Man, that's a great offer. MOPERC has made the commitment, but is willing to share. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, I love that. All right, well, let's kind of we'll come back and we're going to kind of get into more of the some of the state and federal incentives here for just a little bit. This is an interesting list, and there's probably others that are available. but the VW list, our VW settlement, that is where $2.7 billion returned back to the United States from VW as they were caught in changing the emission standards on some of the vehicle testing. Those dollars are readily available for paratransits, for school buses, for those. There's windows where you dive in and be able to apply for those grants. State associations are another great place to be able to possibly catch some federal incentives or rebates. DERA. DERA has been around for a long time, right, guys? Where the Diesel Emission Reduction Act is available, but that one comes, it's a true replacement. If you buy a new one, you must scrap an older diesel vehicle, whatever that is, whether it's a school bus, a dump truck, tow truck, box truck, whatever that may be, that diesel emission that you're replacing with propane. Steve, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about the federal infrastructure tax credit. Can you dive into that one for us?
Yeah, you bet. So Form 8911 is the one that you fill out if you said, I want to tap into the opportunity to set some equipment out and to get a rebate back. And so it really is strategic planning of where do we want this, and then how are we going to pay for it, and what's coming back to us. And so we as a company, we decide that, and then we have two options. One, we decide whether we want Section 179, accelerated depreciation on that asset, or whether we want that 30% back on that infrastructure. And so maybe it's a combination of both. We put in $500,000 worth of infrastructure this last year that was Autogas related. And so we had to start making decisions and working with a tax accountant. Gosh, it's a beautiful thing these days, especially in a very complicated world.
Yeah, but real money, right?
Real money.
It's a needle mover without a doubt. And you also spoke a little bit about the federal tax credit, the 37 cents a gallon that comes back to you as a tax credit, correct?
Yes. Yeah, people really like that. We've found also the more we talk with existing Autogas customers that sometimes they don't want to go to the trouble to fill that out, but it really is simpler than what they think, especially if you can print some forms for them and say, just fill this out. This is as simple as it is. The person that prepares your tax will help you keep track of how many gallons per year you use. And it's it's simple if you can make it that simple.
You bet. Interesting. Then there's the federal low or no grant that is out there. Those are more driven towards the paratransit vehicles, to where it adds additional dollars for your paratransit. Every county in this United States require transportation for older adults or people in need of getting to do their doctor's appointment, maybe going to the grocery store, whatever that may be. Maybe it's even to a certain degree public Uber. But to be able to get that, then the federal government also subsidizes the purchase of those shuttles, similar to MOPERC shuttle. But with the federal low no grants, up to 85% of that vehicle is covered, which is pretty interesting. There's a great company called CHS. That's who I work for, by the way. We have a rebate program going on right now where we literally put our money where our mouth is, and to help our customers to be able to add infrastructure is always the chicken and the egg thing. I can't afford to put in infrastructure because I don't have any customers. I don't have any customers because I don't have infrastructure. CHS stood up and made an incredible offer to be able to provide dollars for our customers to be able to purchase infrastructure, to be able to do upfitting to their current vehicles, to upfit bobtails and such. Steve, I think you guys took a little bit of advantage of that program.
Yeah, $469,000 this last year, and it was important for us to strive to not only get some of this extra infrastructure in place, but also to team up. I think Henry Ford and some of them that started all this, they'd probably be smiling down. I think it was Henry Ford that said that coming together is a beginning, and staying together is progress, and then working together is success. I think Henry Ford was exactly right. And as we worked with CHS, buying equipment through them, taking advantage of some of the tax rebates or the rebates which they have internally, gosh, it's been awesome. And you feel part of a team, and you want to buy more gallons and you want to do more things in off season, especially with Autogas.
I like buying the more gallons part. That's a nice answer. Yeah, good job. So I want to pull Luke back in here. Above, I mentioned state associations. Luke, can you talk a little bit deeper about what MOPERC is doing?
Sure. So currently we are offering multiple different funding available, and just to kind of give you an overall view of what we started, we dedicated $1 million over 10 years for this very program. So we offer rebates and incentives anywhere from public infrastructure at $20,000 rebate all the way down to a lawnmower conversion of $500. So we wanted to try to hit the full gamut of most of everything out there. So as you can see on your screen, as I already mentioned, the public infrastructure, we have private infrastructure money available for $10,000, school buses, shuttles, paratransits like that we have for $2,000 a piece, and then propane powered bobtails, and then you look at your work trucks, which are your fleets, your boom trucks, those types of things. So we definitely wanted to try to spread the money out and let multiple people be available for that, and ultimately move the needle. And if you're unsure what your state does, reach out to them. They may not know that there's an interest of this. And if they do, the best way is to be involved with that. And as I mentioned earlier, if they have questions on how we particularly do stuff or anything, we'd be more than happy to answer any questions out of our office to assist any other state with this type of program. Man,
that's again, moving the needle, right? Putting your money where your mouth is, kind of a thing. We've got to encourage, and I think once you get and push on that rock hard enough, long enough, it will start to roll, which is pretty exciting. So I think it's fun to see these dollars available to the industry and returning them back to it. But if we do talk about Autogas infrastructure, I mean that's a huge piece of it. If they sell the new yellow school bus, they've got to be able to refill that, and so it's lots of different ways to help with Autogas infrastructure. I think Steve talked about some of it with the tax incentives that are out there. MOPERC is stepping in to be able to add infrastructure dollars to make it available. There's the new $2 billion of alternative energy corridor. Steve, can you have any conversation about the corridor piece?
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. We'd applied for some of that in previous years, last year, and we went through the process, and it actually got denied. And but I think as we start to relook at some of these things, that funding is still there and needs to be used either for electric or propane or natural gas. And so an organization, if they wanted to, a city or a tribe, they have to be a specific organization. A true propane company cannot apply for it. But if you find those organizations that have a need, the money's there and needs to be distributed. I attended their webinar here recently, and it was fascinating. Someone's going to get it. And for one of those industries just mentioned, why not be a little bit of propane mixed in there?
100%. Yeah, if you don't stick your hand up, right, or put your hat in a ring or whatever that may be, somebody else is going to get them. Let's let propane rise to the top because we all know that it is the best energy source for moving vehicles. Truly, truly is. If we kind of dive a little bit back into bringing Luke, you showed what MOPERC is doing. And Steve, I think you have some input with the state associations also. But Luke, what's something that the Missouri Propane Gas Association is doing and helping Autogas?
Yeah, so a lot of what well, not a lot. A lot of this, some of the stuff that we are doing is social media. There's a lot of folks on social media these days, and so we're currently using our Facebook platforms, our Instagram platforms, and even our Pinterest platforms to help get some of that information out to people in the countryside that, their propane is a fuel out there. Here's the applications that you can use, and really moving the needle on some of the marketing sides of what we do, aside from our hands-on, quote unquote, the demo program that we continue to grow here. So, a lot of it's marketing-based, and, but some of it starts with not only our members, but our board members, our council members. They're here in Missouri. They're very active. They're a very active part of what we do here. And they help us push the information to their customers, their consumers as well. So it's kind of a large approach with social media, and then, end user, marketer user platforms as well.
One of the really cool things that I know is coming in the state of Missouri, that MOPERC is all about marketing and advertising, but can't legislate, can't lobby, can't do any of those things. And so that's what your association is available for. Can you talk about the cool thing that we've just learned about what the association was able to do working with DESE?
Sure. So currently we are working with DESE in the state of Missouri to assist with a program for low emissions school buses. We're in the very early stages of that, so I can't really give a lot of specifics, but we are definitely in conversations with assisting those folks at DESE any way that we can to help get those vehicles out there.
But that's exactly what the state association is for, right, Luke? Is to be able to go to Capitol Hill and to be able to be the one carrying the flag and raising the awareness of what propane is and the various uses, whether it's heating your home, whether it's heating the water, or whether it's powering a mail delivery vehicle, or whatever it may be. For sure, yellow school buses are in the limelight. There's so many places propane is available to be used. So one
of the large things we do is the legislative side, where we are spending time in the Capitol talking to, whether it be legislators or the governor, or anything that we can help do on the marketer side. The membership base is what we want to make sure that the people that are making the laws and the rules, if you will, understand who we are and what we do, and ultimately not trying to sell them anything, just trying to inform them, because I think a lot of people out there are either misinformed or they just don't know what they don't know. So a lot of what we do is the informational side of it as well.
Excellent. Good deal. Thank you. Steve, you have any thoughts?
Well, I think as far as state associations go, Oklahoma did something years ago that I thought at the time we're kind of voting on how the funds were going to be distributed, but they wanted to do this propane excellent adventure. They wanted to see if a propane powered vehicle could go from New York to San Francisco and fill up along the way as many times as possible. A little bit of a publicity thing, but also one that they not only proved that it could be done at a reasonable rate, especially as it was set up along the way, but it also pioneered some things with state legislatures and others who I now know have some propane-powered vehicle to have some very heavy incentives for people to convert their fleet to propane in Oklahoma. And I just think that sometimes we go and it's a little bit of a step in the dark, but these state associations can really do things to move the needle. One of the other things I asked them at one time, I said, hey, can you prepare a whole packet for Autogas so I can just hand it off with updated forms and everything? And they said, sure. And they printed a bunch of those for us that we just handed out on those sales calls. So state associations being teamed up together, it's true unity.
Truly, a part of the team, right? You got to have, all those pieces and parts and come together with a unified front, without a doubt. Okay. All right, for the sake of time, let's kind of move along here just a little bit. Year-round demand. This is something that I'm near and dear to my heart as a supplier to our incredible customers. Any way that they can flatten their summer to winter ratio, however many loads they pull in the summer to however many loads are that they need come wintertime in the heart of our market. Truly, we are a burner tip business, but anything that we can do to flatten that ratio, for one, is great, keeping our guys busy during the summer months. But literally flattening that supply curve makes it easier on our carriers, on our transport delivery folks, keeps them busy all year long. The pipelines or the refineries or wherever you are pulling your fuel from, making sure that the offtake of and summer movement is very important to those people also. What about strategies for the fleet managers? That's a point here. What do we know about that, guys?
Well, I think if you're not investing in your own equipment and saying, okay, if we're talking about Autogas and you look at your fleet and you still have anything that's gasoline and hasn't been converted, the question is, do we really believe in it? So strategy, I think, for the fleet managers is, as soon as possible, let's talk about trying to get some of those things converted so that when you go to a sales call, you can say, if you want to see what it looks like, let's go out back. As we've done that, we've found that sometimes we've got to give them some stories. If we learn from the past, we've got to live in the present and prepare for the future. Then someone like Andrew Carnegie, and Mark and I have talked about this before. Gosh, can you believe that he built bridges in the 1870s? One of them was in Missouri, and as he built this bridge, the problem was once it was finished, not everyone trusted that it was going to be a bridge that would sustain a bunch of people on it. Back then, these bridges could collapse. Well, Andrew Carnegie, he said this. He said, I heard this legend one time that an elephant has this keen sense of whether something's stable or not. So I'm going to hire an elephant, and I'm going to cross this bridge before we open up. He called all the media, and not only did he pull this off, the elephant crossed, and so did he. But shortly after, on Independence Day, 300,000 people crossed that bridge, and they followed. So I think if there's 270,000 vehicles in the United States that are running on propane, we're just getting started here. But as we, as fleet managers, invest in ourselves, we say, okay, we're the elephant. We're going to cross this bridge, and then we're going to ask everyone else to do it. I think that's an important piece.
Absolutely. It's hard to sell propane Autogas if you pull up in a hybrid, kind of a deal, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely. Luke, can you talk about the value, and of course, Steve, also the value of a propane Autogas customer? Why do we want this customer? Why is this customer something that we really want to have?
I'd like to touch on something that Stephen just said a minute ago. Some of the things we need, think about is those partnerships as well, because it takes multiple individuals at times to get through some of these situations, whether it's, first and foremost, having a propane powered vehicle, if you're going to try to sell that, is very important. But just know that there's other folks in other industries that are more than willing to help too, whether it's school bus manufacturers or people that actually provide kits to put on systems, to put on vehicles, those types of things that, you don't have to go at this alone, and I keep talking about we'll help here in the state of Missouri, and we'll do anything we can for anybody. But just know there are other people out in the countryside, probably in your communities, that you just don't know that they're available to help you yet. So you just take a little bit bigger approach to the thought process, work on those relationships. And based on that, we've had some great success here in our state over the last few years with that. So that's really one of the point I wanted to run home there. And I'll turn it over to Stephen for the value of the Autogas customer.
Yeah, so for us, we have found the more we talk about it, the more we engage in it, and the more we do with it, it helps all aspects of these plates that we're really trying to spin. Heritage is a company that we've used. We've teamed up. They do some insurance. They do some Google My Business. But they started to help us understand in Google My Business, the more we posted, there were certain things that people enjoyed those posts, and they started getting reactions. But Autogas was one of those things. And so when we would go to a state convention that have all kind of school bus and farm shows, as we would post those, we would get comments and interaction, not only for Autogas, but for other things. So there's huge value in that Autogas because it's definitely something, it's a huge topic right now. And people are going to go different directions on it, but we've got a message to tell. As far as us statistically, the value of an Autogas customer, if you look at the plates, once again, one residential customer is important, but one Autogas customer equals 20 of these residential customers for us.
Say that again. You said one red plate is worth 20 yellow plates?
That's right. So for every one Autogas customer, and the mileage they drive, and especially if we tap into these fleets, they're averaging 20 of these residential customers year-round, steady flow. The value of an Autogas customer, it's there, and it's just a matter of we want to participate or not.
Well, I know that an Autogas paratransit vehicle burns, a little over 800 gallons of fuel a month. So that would kind of lead in and tie into what you just said. I mean, that's so you can work a whole lot smarter and get a few Autogas customers, or work really hard. And as we said, the home heating is still the core of our business and forever will be. But as we produce 2.7 million barrels a day of propane, and having to export 70% of that somewhere else just so that the storages here don't overfill, I would love to see through Autogas growing, because it's a very highly profitable business, very stable year round, on and on and on, to where we flip, where we're keeping 70% and only have 30% available to ship away. That'd be a great goal. As you said, Steve, you got to set goals, right? And let's displace some more of this diesel stuff. What other thoughts you have? I've been talking a lot.
Yeah, goals are important. Life without goals is like golf without holes. And so if we're saying, okay, we don't have any goals on this thing, we just go out and we're just hitting the ball. And so if we really do have goals and we understand the value of, if we put some energy here, great things can really happen. And, one of our biggest customers, they had a goal for within a year period of time, as they converted their fleet over, to save a very significant portion of their operating cost. They anticipated a year and they did it in 6 months, and they were really excited, and they continue to add to that fleet. So I think the value will continue to be there.
That's amazing. Any other thoughts, Luke, that you'd like to add in here?
Not at this point. I think we're doing a great job. One thing I did want to mention that, some of the infrastructure stuff is very important as well out there to be looking at that, look strategically into that. And what we're doing here in Missouri, our goal, as Stephen mentioned, goals, is 27 by 27. So 2027, you're having stricter diesel emissions. And so we're looking at having a minimum of 27 either fueling stations and or maintenance facilities in the state of Missouri by that 27. So that's one of our lofty goals that we're working on. And with some of the partnerships we have out there with, whether it be Ford or Roush or some of the other folks that are putting on systems, we feel very strongly we're going to make that goal.
Yeah. You got to have goals. There's no way you're going to achieve it unless you set that bar out there to be able to get to. And so, well, folks, today I'd like to get to some of the questions that are out there. But again, Steve, I greatly appreciate your time today. Your all's business is truly fun. So if you're ever in North Central Oklahoma, look up Cleveland Petroleum and Steve will greet you at the door with a smile, and it's a really a neat, well run. They've got an amazing facility there that does a lot of things. They do some of their own upfit conversions, plus all the other things that come along with running a retail business as they do. And Luke, appreciate your time today. Again, the state of Missouri has a very high level. The boards that build and make up the state of Missouri are goal setters. They're going to push the envelope and want to be on the leading edge all the time, and doing great things for our industry, and are happy to share. And again, my name is Mark Porth. I'm with CHS, and I kind of cover the mid-south of the country. But as far as Autogas, anywhere in the country from east to west, north to south, if it's an Autogas related event, I'm probably going to be involved in it, because I live and breathe it. Everything that I drive has Autogas on it. My mowers have Autogas on it. Even my wife's pickup burns propane, and she's one of the greatest salespeople out there, talking about her great experience with Autogas. And so, Brian, I'm going to kind of turn it back over to you and let you lead us on out of here.
All right, thanks, Mark. So I'm going to sort of jump into a few questions that were submitted ahead of time. This one's any one of you can answer this. It's probably a lot for Stephen. Can you share some success stories or case studies of organizations that have effectively implemented propane autogas in their fleets, aside from the ones you guys have already discussed?
Yeah. So besides UPS, which it continues to be a great success story, we've continued to see others' interest. Right now, we're having a lot of success even in our own fleet. A propane company kind of looking at it. We've converted some of these Ford F-750s, putting bobtails on the back, and it's been really good for us. We've experimented with others in the past, but I think it's really important for a fleet manager to be comfortable with not only what they're buying, but also what they're going to have to work on as time goes on. And I think we've found a real niche for us. And then UPS, obviously, they continue to add to their fleet, changing things, a little bit of technology as they go along.
Excellent. Another question, what is the average that you're seeing in rebates?
Oh boy. I'll grab that one there, Brian. Or maybe I'll start it and then allow my experts to come in behind me. It's very state specific. And so to be able to say, you're going to get these dollars is, how aggressive are you going to be in your grant writing and going out there to try to find these, with a B, billions of dollars that are available. And you're competing for those dollars. And so it's, how aggressive can you be? And the layups are out there. But for the most part, it's a little bit state specific. All I can say is it's significant enough that you want to be able to help your customer be able to get to some of these dollars. And the cool part of propane is, though, even if all of these incentives went away, propane still wins. It still stands on its own. In fact, it probably stands even more on its own if we took all the incentive dollars away, simply because of the cost of the fuel for our customers, for the maintenance improvements that they get, and on and on and on. But Steve, do you have anything specific for like an Oklahoma marketer? What's available?
Yeah. So 26,000 is a really good place for someone to be. And it goes up and it even goes down depending on the GVW of the vehicle and what type of infrastructure they put in. But we're talking $26,000. It's a very significant impact on someone making a decision. And so that's what we're seeing here in Oklahoma.
That's much more than a rounding error, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's, as I said, it's significant dollars that are out there and available. If you're willing to go, it doesn't happen because they're not going to just hand you the money. You got to go find it. You got to go do it, right, Steve?
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. What else do we have?
So I have one last question before we wrap up today. What current or planned manufacturers' vehicles or engines will be available in North America over the next 2 to 5 years?
Wow.
That's a
I can
big
take.
one.
I'll take that one. That's a great question. I definitely can say this, that we're having great success with the 7.3 liter Godzilla, the 6.6, the EcoBoost. Those are some of the ones we're having great success now. I think a lot of the 2 to 5 year span, some of that will depend on what engines are available, what vehicles are available, and ultimately the interest in those vehicles, because the people that are putting these systems together, they have quite a bit of money wrapped up in that, couple $100,000 in getting these systems for us to use. So I think a lot of that will probably be driven by what the need or demand is at that time. But I can tell you that, the 7.3, the 6.6, the EcoBoost, amongst many other engines, are readily available with hundreds of systems currently, only to be more in that 2 to 5 year time span.
Yeah. That 7.3 is going in a lot of different platforms, right, guys? Almost anything that has wheels, that 7.3 can go into.
All right, guys, that's all the questions I have for today. If you guys have anything else to add, feel free to chime in. I thank you, Mark, Stephen, Luke, for such a great presentation this afternoon. I thank all of our attendees. I'd like to go ahead and wrap this up. If you guys have any further questions, you can ask, via our chat. We will forward our questions on to our presenters. We'd like to thank you for attending Can Propane Autogas Revolutionize Your Business. It's brought to you by LP Gas Magazine and our sponsor of the event, CHS. A recording of this webinar will be available to you, and you can always find it at lpgas.com/webinars. You can see a list of all of our webinars there, and this one, and you should, for those registered who may not have been able to attend, you'll also receive an email with or a link to that recording. So thank you all for attending, and we hope to see you again next time for an LP Gas webinar.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.